Can I have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board for March 2nd, 2015. Tonight, we do have a public hearing on that has been continued from a previous meeting. And this is a public hearing for a site plan review at 21 Nottingham Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Hunt Real Estate Services, Inc. for the site plan approval for a project located at the above listed address. The applicant proposed the construction of a new approximate 9,200 square foot family dollar with a 28-space parking lot and 2 stormwater infiltration areas. The applicant is seeking site plan review under section 11.4 of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. The parcel is approximately 59,000 square feet of land and is located in the light industrial zoning district. And we hear from the applicant, please.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, 549 Roger Street, Lowell, Mass., representing Hunt Real Estate Services, Inc. With me tonight is Paul Beck from, well, he's not in the room right now, but Paul Beck and Doug Murray from Hunt Real Estate, and Phil Henry, who is our project engineer. You'll recall we were in front of you back in January on the original hearing, and you did point out some issues that you wanted us to address. I think the most important one was transportation. And I just want to let you know that we did retain the services of Jeff Dirk of Vanessa and Associates. He did meet with Lisa on site. They had a meeting on site, and she requested that he provide her with a more detailed traffic assessment of the area, which has been done and has been submitted. Have they gotten a copy of that yet, Judy? Yeah. It's my understanding that Lisa is reviewing it. She will have comments, which will be available for the next meeting, and we will have Jeff Dirk here at the next meeting to address those issues. The second area that we discussed was the design of the building. New plan has been submitted, and Doug Murray's here to answer any questions that you might have as far as the new design is concerned. And the third was some issues with the site plan, which included drainage, landscaping, etc. Phil has made some changes to the plans. He's also addressed Lisa's comments on the engineering, and he's here to discuss those issues with you. So I think the best thing to do would have Phil Henry come up and tell you the changes made to the plan and address the engineering issues. And then if you have any questions of Doug on the plan, he's here too. So I think that's
so. Just one quick question. When you say the drainage, I know we got some reports this afternoon on stormwater. Is that all the same thing? Okay.
Yep. Phil can address that.
I know we had some comments, and then you replied to some of those comments, and then I don't think Lisa's seen those since, right?
He replied today.
Okay.
We haven't heard back from Lisa on his reply.
Because those are the ones I think, I got emailed late this afternoon. I printed the first part of the comments. I didn't get the rest of them. Okay. Yeah. So that'll be addressed with the drainage.
Just got them this morning.
Yeah, that's on me. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes, so we haven't heard from Lisa on the comments that
Okay.
Phil
Right.
gave us.
So if we wait for her in the traffic, we might have a chance to wait on the drainage stormwater together as well. Okay. All right. Thank you. I just want to make sure that I brought that out. Okay. Thank you.
Good
Go
evening.
ahead, please, sir.
For the record, my name is Philip Henry with Civil Design Group. We are the project engineers for the site. So the engineering department issued a set of comments back on January 22nd, for which we replied with revised set of plans on January 29th. And then from that submittal, we received a revised comment letter from Lisa dated February 27th, but we received it this morning. And
Okay.
they were all, they were very minor in nature. There were no plan changes required to respond to these second round of comments. So we took a stab at responding to them same day in hopes to get a clean letter from her. I've reached out to her this morning unsuccessfully, but I do have a message in with her. Okay. But we feel that we've satisfactorily, resolved her concerns to date. But I am planning on following up with her. So just to take a step back on when we were here in January, at that time we had just received initial comments related to site layout, or I guess not so much site layout, but stormwater. And then we also received comments from the planning department as well. And then, so our January 29th plan set was in response to those initial comments that were submitted in early January. So I'm just going to go through some of the highlights here.
Sure.
And then I'd be happy to answer any specific questions. And I have 4 bullet items to discuss. The first was the engineering department wanted us to take a look at adding some additional volume capacity for the stormwater. So what we did here is located in this easterly area here, we added some additional storage underground. This is stone and pipe that will take volume capacity as this basin is flowing up via overland flow and pipe discharge into this basin over here. There's no outlet. I should say the only inlet and outlet of this row of 18-inch pipes are the open ends on the easterly side. So water simply flows in, infiltrates, or flows back out, and then infiltrates into that basin. So judging from a no response to my response, I'm assuming the engineering department is satisfied with our increased volume capacity. And basically what that does is it accommodates up to the 100-year storm. So now we have the entire site essentially from the impervious area going into this basin and that basin and infiltrating. So there's no runoff off-site from those basins. The second item that I'd like to highlight tonight was we did replace the sidewalk along Nottingham Street. However, there is a small piece here that we still need to extend, so we are going to extend the sidewalk, the full length of the frontage with the concrete sidewalk. And we also added detectable warning pads per the City of Lowell specifications, and that's right on the plan, so the contractor can literally look at that plan and place the order. Second dumpster, we did add a second dumpster back here, next to the initial first one. And then lastly, we were asked to go back and look at the street trees along Nottingham. And in discussions with the planning department, I sought out to get an approved list of trees, street trees that the city approves, and we received that list. And what we've added, we've added nine honey locust street trees that are, and we focused all of them along the street as we discussed. And as last I recall, we removed all the low-lying shrubbery and just mainly focused on grass and the street trees. So these honey locust trees will have a significantly wide spread. As you'll see in the front of the store, we didn't propose any in the front of the store for 2 reasons. There's not a substantial landscape width, and also we've made some architectural improvements that you'll see tonight that we didn't want to hide that facade of that building. So, and then lastly, we did take a look at reconfiguring the site a bit. However, we were not able to come up with a solution that shifted the building to any area of the site without keeping the spaces close to the front door. There's, as you can see here, this site is very wide and lacks linear foot, front to back. So we couldn't rotate this site because we need to keep the spaces proximate to the front door, which is typical of a retail operation. But as you will see, the revised architectural plans, we feel that we've addressed hopefully all of those concerns. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Doug, and he can focus on the architectural improvements. It's already to that page.
Regarding your comments from the last meeting, we did go back to our architect and looked at a couple of modifications as suggested by the planning staff. One, we increased the height of the brick on both the Nottingham and Chelmsford Street elevations, and we have added the vinyl siding to the elevation, the western elevation, which faces the storm pond, with a brick wainscoting. We did leave in the back the metal panel elevation. We do have on the front the false windows facing Nottingham, try to give that a more residential character, and we've left on the front of the building facing the parking lot in Chelmsford Street. Those are the changes proposed, we've proposed to date.
What'd you say about the windows again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch all that.
Those are the windows indicated facing, it says the south elevation facing Nottingham.
Okay.
Those are false windows because obviously it's retail and we need the shelf space inside. And I think the colors print, unfortunately Phil's colors printed a little different, lighter than ours when we printed out. So I will clarify this is a desert tan, I mean, the smaller versions, the 11 by 17s, you can see it's more of a tannish color than the gray that's showing up here.
Okay, so different color, okay.
Yeah, I can have copies if you want them.
Sure.
There you go, thank you.
We can share one here, we can look at it together, yeah.
Yep, it's taller, it's higher. It's a better line. Can I just ask,
Yes, sir.
I believe there was a comment from DPD if you had considered at least, I think they were talking about false windows even on the other, on the north elevation and the east elevation as well, or working something in there to soften that facade. Again, it's a unique site that you have because you really are kind of exposed all the way around. I mean, are you open to working with them on?
Yeah, sure,
with
we've, in
something?
fact, this afternoon, we looked at another version of adding shutters, false shutters on the side facing the storm pond, the western elevation, and reducing the number of windows on the Nottingham elevation.
Okay.
Just,
Yeah. Because you understand what what we're trying to accomplish there?
it is just people are just gonna circulate past that
Right,
side, so we don't really see the
right. But that's a heck of a lot better than this.
Breaks it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's better, this is a better version than what you're,
Yeah, we understand.
yeah.
Yeah, it breaks it up a bit.
Yeah.
But you want to take a look at that?
Just one window, yeah, that's enough. Like that, yeah.
Sure, Joe? You can bring that over to Bob if you want.
Yeah, this is maybe a little too much.
Yeah, I mean, that spreads it out instead of putting all the fake ones there. This is just, yeah, I mean, like I say, if you put one or two on each side, and then put the other one in the middle.
Yeah, that especially. So, again, you understand we're just trying to accomplish
Yes, I
there.
understand.
Yeah, yeah.
We're just,
I think this definitely represents movement in the right direction. I guess the west elevation in particular was a very sensitive one. That's going to be very visible, coming down Nottingham Street towards Chelmsford. This is much better. I'm sorry, is this the part of the evening for our comments?
You can ask them a question, then we'll keep going the public hearing, we'll come back. But since we're on this part, we figured we'd ask them Jerry had a question, so you could follow up on that, sure.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll go further with the rest of the public hearing, then we'll come back.
The building design has always been, you know, the visual aspect has always been a high priority for me. I feel like there's been a lot of positive steps made here. The west elevation is better, but I think what could make it better still would just be one more set of those shutters above the center one. Okay, this, look at this, it's still got a lot of blank area up here. Okay, you break up that facade at eye level very nicely, but above eye level, lots of blank siding. That's my thought. But I think what you've done here, that choice on the shutters, that's interesting. I'm a little curious on the south elevation. Why did you go from the 3 dark false windows to just having the dark false windows in the middle and the shutters on the outside?
Just to break it up, it seemed repetitive, especially since we'd be going with shutters on the other side. It was, and also the shutters they provide the appearance of an opening, a fenestration, but cost-wise, they're more effective.
More effective than,
It's a cost-effective solution to providing what appears to be a fenestrated opening.
right,
I mean, you're talking about when we put even when we put a false window there, it's gonna be a framed window with a piece of glass and a backer panel.
I see.
You know, the shutter is essentially a vinyl shutter, fiberglass shutter.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I just ask a quick question?
absolutely,
So
Judy.
the version that Joe is looking at, is that different from what we're looking at here? It is.
Yes.
Less
June.
windows along the.
So you don't have a blow-up version of this to?
And I do not have a large version.
Yeah, okay.
Doug, anything else you want to say, Doug? or-
No, I'm just here to take questions at this point, I
Okay.
think.
Anybody else on behalf of the applicant?
Yeah, you throw one more up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, we feel that we've satisfied her comments to date through issuing the latest round of comments today. So we feel that we can meet all of her comments and you know, hopefully we're coming to a close on the technical aspect of the project.
All right, anybody else here this evening want to speak in regards to this project? Anybody else want to speak? Anybody else want to speak? Hearing none, this portion, I'll turn over, and the board members have any further comments? I mean, I know that, go ahead, Rich.
You mentioned about the landscaping when you were talking about the street trees. Did you eliminate most of the low-growing stuff? I mean, do you have a landscape plan that you intend to show us, a complete one?
Yeah,
I just want to get a little clarification.
Yeah, the sheet 4 is the landscape and site layout plan. It has the locations of the trees. It also has a planting schedule with applicable notes, and then there's also details as well on installation of said plantings.
All right. But you have thinned that out a little bit.
Yep.
Anything else, Rich? No?
No, I just have a
Okay.
question about the truck.
Yeah, I'll get that. I'm going to ask that again, too. I'm going to ask that, too. I think they'll come up, okay.
Something
Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following up on Mr. Lockhart's question, because we do have a memo, I think, from February 13th from DPD. And I guess it's one of the concerns I had at the original hearing was the wooden guardrails. Because it talks about a separate proposed landscape plan sheet should be included in the set. Additionally, the board may wish to have the applicant work with DPD to implement additional landscaping within the property. For instance, low-growth shrubs or ornamental trees may be an effective way to enhance the aesthetics of the property while still accomplishing the barrier objectives that are apparent from the wooden guardrails shown on the plan. It's such a, again, it's a sensitive spot, and it's gonna be very visible with the cars going around and the neighbor. I'm just trying to soften that, and that was one of the comments I had before as far as trying to screen that. Now, this was dated February 13th. Have they seen anything after this, or? I know we've had a lot of information going back and forth, but,
We haven't submitted anything subsequent to this.
okay, all right, so that's still, I'd like to see that addressed. The,
You have a copy of that, Mr. Flood, the 13th one? Or you, Jim?
that is from Joe Genowitz.
You want to approach, Counselor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the one, it's that comment plus the sidewalk comment, right?
That is correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's the
I
bottom
think-
one, it's just two basic comments.
Yeah, I think there was, perhaps maybe misunderstanding on my part. I thought the goal was to, per our last meeting, was to eliminate all the low-lying shrubs and focus on the street trees. That was.
I think if I can recall, and I know Mr. Boyle was very big on having the street trees, and again, for the streetscape, but my concern was also screening the guardrail around the detention area.
Okay, well, the guide rail, it's a wooden guide rail, so
Right, I
it's
understand.
not like a metal, it's actually, in my opinion, I think, a nice-looking feature, but it's not around the detention area. It extends from here to here.
Right,
So
no, I understand, but it's,
Yeah,
I get it, yeah, it doesn't surround it, but in essence, it's to prevent you from driving
Yeah.
into there, right?
Fair
Is that
enough.
correct? Yeah, yeah. And it was just to soften that look a little bit.
yeah, it's a low-lying, it's probably
Right,
2.5 to 3 feet tall. It's not a fence by any means.
right, right.
One of the obstacles that we have is we obviously want the guide rail along the edge of asphalt here.
Sure.
For obvious reasons, and then
Yeah.
we also have a stone area as part of our, it helps collect, sediment as runoff is going
Sure.
into the basin. So-
Filters it before it gets to the, yeah.
Yeah, and then we start our decline, so to speak, into the basin. So,
Right.
I think perhaps locating any shrubbery right before it, there's an obstacle there.
Sure.
Perhaps we could add something behind it, but I don't think that really speak to.
Right, right.
I mean, if you're driving along Nottingham, what you're going to see is, yeah, you would see a wooden guide rail, but in the foreground will be asphalt, and behind it, it's just going to be grass. So you would see the grass, behind that wooden guide rail.
What about a climbing vine that climbed onto the wooden guardrail? That way.
Couldn't hear you.
What about a climbing vine that went onto the wooden guardrail itself? That way you wouldn't need a lot of space on one side or the other for a shrub, and yet it would soften the appearance of that guardrail a little bit. I don't know, just something to, we're likely to include a condition for working more with the DPD on a final landscape design. Maybe that's an option.
Yeah. Yeah, reasonable. Now, also on the traffic study, I'm assuming based on the recommendations that were set forth in the study, that you're in agreement with all of the recommendations, which would be the deliveries to the project site by way of large tractor semi-trailer combination should be scheduled so as not to occur during student drop-off pickup periods at the Abraham Lincoln Elementary School. All signs and pavement markings to be installed within the project site shall conform to the applicable standards, and again, that's standard, I guess. Signs and landscape adjacent to the project site driveway intersections in with project site should be designed and maintained so as not to restrict lines of sight, and I think that needs to be coordinated with DPD. Wheelchair ramp should be provided for crossing the project site driveways along Nottingham Street driveway. You did say that that was being addressed. The pedestrian connection should be provided between the existing sidewalk on Nottingham Street and the proposed building.
Yep, there is.
And then the project site driveway should be 40 feet in width in order to accommodate the turning and maneuvering requirements of the large delivery trucks and to facilitate two-way travel with vehicles exiting the project site placed under stop sign control with a marked stop line provided in advance of sidewalk. You're maintaining
Yep.
that. The, also, the the recommendations for basically off-site, and I can't see how we could even go forward without making that a condition based on what we were looking at with the turning events, and even, I think DPD provided pictures of Nottingham with the snow that we've been having for the last month. And one of the recommendations, in addition, is recommended that on-street parking be prohibited within 20 feet of the intersection, approaches and departures, in order to ensure that adequate lines of sight are afforded at the intersection to provide sufficient maneuvering area for the emergency vehicle. Now, that would require you to go before the city council for that. But again, those are recommendations coming from the traffic study, and I think they're pertinent to the safety of the site. And transportation demand management measures. Were you putting a bike rack? It says a bike rack will be provided proximate to the building entrance?
No, we currently don't have a bike rack.
Okay, that is transportation demand management measures. I think it's probably, we've tried to do that with other projects, especially if it's a neighborhood. I mean, I can see kids driving down on their bikes to the dollar store to spend some of their money.
Yeah, I can see adults who don't have
Adults as
access to
well, I'm saying.
automobiles. I mean, the customer base that you're looking at, you're counting on a lot of pedestrians. People slightly further away are likely to ride bikes there too.
Those were the, I believe those were the comments that I thought were pertinent in the traffic study. And again, I have to say is, every time we've had one of these and we've adopted the recommendations, it's enhanced the project, and I think it's made it a better project, so.
Those were the comments made, but I'd rather wait till we have Jeff Dirk here to discuss any final conditions put on it.
Okay, and
because,
I'm okay with that.
I mean,
We could-
we're talking
yeah,
two
absolutely.
deliveries a week, right? Well, one delivery a week, and it's not going to be during school hours. We've agreed to that, so.
Yep, yep.
I don't know whether the no parking zone would apply, but let's see what he has to say
Okay.
after everyone reviews it.
Sure.
But we were here tonight, we want to try to get rid of the other issues, being the design of the building
Sure.
and the other site plan matters that were brought up before.
Sure.
So. And then next time, we can discuss the traffic issues.
I'm good with that. Well, the only thing is, I will say, I'm not necessarily sure we resolve the design issues. I think we're headed in the right direction with the design issues. So I want to make that clear. I mean, we've made progress on that. And I think, again, you know what we're trying to accomplish with that design, and you certainly are headed in the right direction with that. Is there any possibility of doing anything with the north elevation? And again, I understand we're not trying to make this a budget buster, but at the end of the day, it's on the corner of one of the gateway routes to the city, in and out of the city, and that'll be visible exiting the city.
Well, I guess the question would be whether there'd be any concessions available on maybe the other sides, that we reduce the fenestrations along the front. You know, we already proposed going to vinyl shutters, whether we could reduce. We have 3 on each side, whether we could reduce that to 2 openings, or, 2, and be able to take and put spend some of that money on the back of
Sure.
the building. I mean, that's the sort of.
If you could talk with DPD between now and the next meeting, is to try to come up with something like that, so that you've aesthetically addressed all sides of that building, that would be, that would make that a little more pleasing. It's, again, it's very interesting. You've got a residential neighborhood right on the other side. You've got kind of an industrial look on the other side, but at the end of the day, you're visible from Chelmsford Street as well, so.
Right.
It'll be a great site when you're done, but it's just, we want to make sure we're all happy with the project when it's done, and we drive by and we can be proud of what we ended up with over there.
All right.
So. And then the other issue you were hoping to address tonight, then, it was the drainage, and we're still waiting for then the final comments from the city engineer on that. Okay, all right, thank you.
I have a question relative to lighting.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
Can you just tell us about your outside lighting, and just concerned about the impact on the neighborhood
Well,
there? Do you
these
have
are-
pole lighting or just building lights?
Well, for the building lighting, we have wall packs on the sides. Any one of these black dots is a wall pack. Those light down against the building, the security lighting, things like that. And then underneath the awning at the front and over the door, there's usually a LED fixture or a fluorescent fixture. It's LEDs now, underneath that awning. And that lights the store. Those go off when the store is closed. In terms of the site lighting, you can point it out.
We have 7 proposed site lights that, I think
Okay, that's what I'm primarily interested in.
they're about 16 feet tall. There's, just walking around the site, it's one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. They're thin profile shoebox lighting. I believe there's a photometric plan in the package. There's a detail on PH1 here, the shoebox light, I'm sorry, it's 22 feet tall. But as the photometric plan indicates, it's all focused down to the ground. There's little to no foot candles, spilling off on the ground. We were sensitive to that.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyle, any question?
A little more on the lighting, now that Mr. Lockhart has brought it up. Are the locations on this photometric site plan of each of the?
Yeah. They are, you're looking at PH1, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they are, they're the boxes surrounding the edge of pavement.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them?
Yeah, 7.
Okay. The issue that's being raised in my mind is that all 7 of those seem to be the 22-foot tall box-style ones that do a very good job of lighting a parking lot. But the one at the entrance is very close to the sidewalk. And in terms of the visual aspect of this project, I'm thinking that something other than a 22-foot-high downward-pointing shoebox-style light might be more of an asset for the neighborhood. Something that's actually more similar to a street light. That actually, it's close enough to actually be part of the streetscape at this point, not just your parking lot light. The others are just, in the back. But that one, I'm wondering if it might be possible to replace that with something that's more like a street lamp. You know, we don't like in our neighborhoods to have, you know, big street lights that are glaring right into people's windows. But on the other hand, street lamps are an attractive feature that, you know, like street trees, that can produce, that could be a positive for the neighborhood, not just a mitigation measure. Is that something you might be willing to consider?
I mean, you know, we're supposed to have zero cutoff, zero spill from the site, so, I mean, if we did a street lamp, it would obviously violate that rule.
Yeah.
Tree may soften that, the street trees that they propose.
That is a, what rule is that, the zero off-site spill? Is that in our zoning?
Yeah.
That's part of our zoning? Okay. Has this come, I have to ask the board, has this come up before, that they can't have street lamps on their property?
Well, basically what they're saying is not they're supposed to give any light off their project into the budding neighbor's property.
Right.
So usually they try to keep it on site. I mean, you know, that's their own direction, is like, if we have them, how they're directed down to encompass onto their own property, instead of putting in, you know, you have somebody next door, that light's coming right in their bedroom at middle of the night and going on whenever. So they try to keep all their light on site as requested under the site plan.
And direct it down.
And direct it down, you know, make sure that, and they have enough lighting to cover the radius of the property, but basically to make sure the light stays on property so it's not bothering other neighbors, or whether it be, you know, residential, commercial, or whatever. Yeah.
I'm wondering, has this this thought of an attractive street lamp being included in the project, has that come up before and been impossible to do because of this rule?
We'd never had to really raise that planning board meetings, you know, they just basically agreed to go along with the lighting as requested by our site plan, has been approved by DPD. Yep. You know, and if we have any questions like about the lighting, you know, usually they just said, we'll make sure it all stays on site.
Yeah. Well, this certainly isn't something that I can insist on from the applicants to not follow the city's rules, but I wonder if this might be something that the city wishes to revisit, to improve our options here.
Yeah, and I just want to address that. Yes, we do, say we agree to do it, and we put the light in, and then if a neighbor complains, we're going to have the light turned off. It's that sort of thing. If it's not a sort of a direction from the city, and
Yeah.
the city's doing street lights on the sidewalk in their right of way, then, you know, we build a lamp that we don't use.
All right.
It's really that, we're following the rules. the way
Yes,
that we've got.
you're following the rules as they're put down. This is something we might want to think about on our end. Okay. Mr. Malovich raised a good point, trying to figure out how the location of that street lamp and that one street light at the entrance, how close are there street trees to it? We don't have the street tree plan on this set. Okay. Okay.
So there's a tree that is, you know, right next to it.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely help the visual aspect of that. And there's another one on the other side of the driveway, too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then from this vantage point, if you're driving or walking, you have to visually look through 2 or 3 trees to get to that light.
Yep. Okay, good, yeah, I think that works out well then. Have to be a little more sensitive on these questions on this particular site than maybe in a lot of your others, because this isn't on a Route 1 somewhere, this is right in our neighborhood. Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Malovich?
Not really. I'd really like to see the results of all this discussion. I think we've made a lot of progress.
Yeah.
And the big question will be to see how does that tractor trailer make that turn getting in there, so we'll wait and see how that comes. So
Yes, I find that very interesting.
that will be for the next meeting, right?
Next meeting.
So are you requesting that, us to continue to the next meeting, right? Are you looking for the March 16th or the following of April 6th? Those are the next two meetings lined up. Next, okay, March 16th.
March 6th.
Judy, are we in the timeframe to act on this, or do we need a letter from the applicant asking to be extended? Because our first public hearing went back to January 22nd, and I forget the filing deadline.
They should submit a letter requesting an extension. Yeah.
All right, you'll take care of that? Okay, sure, all right. That way everybody's covered on that aspect, okay.
And the traffic engineer,
Yeah, so you plan on having Jeff here for the 16th? Yeah, and hopefully Lisa will have a chance to, one, go over the traffic stuff, and then again, Lisa, have a chance to look at all that stormwater stuff that's been submitted to us recently, so,
Lisa, that's right.
okay. All right, so, we need a motion to request a continuance to March 16th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue the matter until our next meeting of March 16th.
Okay, motion's made.
I'll
and-
second the motion.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye?
Chair votes yes. Any opposition? Hearing none. The motion's approved. We'll see you on the 16th. Okay. Good luck. Hopefully they'll break that up a little bit. Okay, moving along on the agenda, does any of the board members have any further correspondences or any updates?
Historic board report.
Sure, go ahead, Rich.
We recently had the historic board, we recently had our pizza and preservation event in the function room of Tremonti Pizza downtown.
yours.
Pizza and preservation ball. And it was very successful. We had 25 to 30 members of the public, which included some downtown business people. The development community was represented, and councilors Samaras, Belanger, and Leahy were present. And we had a great dialogue about historic board issues, and particularly the downtown business community, and it was very productive. And we will continue to we have to sit down and talk about what we want to do next. So we'll continue this effort into the future. I do want to thank Councilors Samaras, Belanger, and Leahy for their attendance, their participation, and their continuing support in our efforts to improve the dialogue with the community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members, any follow-up? No? Judy, anything from staff, any follow-up? No? Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's made and second. Bob, all in favor say aye. Aye. Chair votes yes. We have adjourned. Good night, and thank you, everyone.